Alrighty, so welcome to tonight's call, guys. Tonight we are covering the subject on momentum, and it's one of those subjects that is really important because Herbalife is very much a momentum business. You've got to start from scratch as you're doing anything in life, and then and build it day by day. And momentum plays a really serious role in where your business is at, where it's going, and the pace of what you're doing. And I guess it also talks about, what mode you're in, whether you're in building mode, whether you're in cruise mode, or what it is that you're trying to achieve. So let me just go through it very, very quickly and hopefully get everybody very, very clear on some stuff tonight. But, what is momentum? And this is actually out of the dictionary, so it's not my own invention. But it is the impetus and driving force gained by the development of a process or course of events. And I reckon that really sums up Herbalife in a real great way, because everything we're doing is a process, from getting people on the products and showing them how to use the products, to using it properly and, working them through that, and then taking them through the pipeline and making sure you've got a support system that you're taking these guys through. It really is a process and a course of events that we lead through. So there's 3 stages of momentum that I want to cover tonight. First of all, obviously, there's the established. This is where you're just getting things started and you're starting to get the ball rolling. The next level of momentum is what you call sustain and maintain. So whatever momentum you've got to make sure you've got a period of maintaining it and keeping the balance and everything working. And then there's obviously advancing that momentum and taking your business to the next level. And, I am talking about the business tonight more than the product side of things, but that momentum probably talks about, the product usage as well, getting yourself started and moving through. But let's talk about establishing it. In the beginning, guys, the establishment of your momentum is where you use all your fuel. It's a lot of energy to get it off the ground. And I guess the best analogy is an aeroplane. When they're going down that runway, it's not just a matter of hit the throttle and bang, you're in the air. Runways are what, 4, 5, 6, 700 meters long, a kilometer long, or even longer than that. And the plane needs that entire distance along that runway just to get off the ground. And you can feel the power when you're in an airplane of what's going on and where it's taken you, because you can feel that power growing every single second that you're on the plane. So all that power is used to get that off the ground and get it into the air. So a lot of the energy that is used by an airplane is used in that first bit to get it off the ground and get things rolling. That's the same as your business. Most of your energy is going to be used in getting your business off the ground, because you're starting from ground zero. You're starting with no results. You're starting with no clients. You're starting at 25%. Everything is brand new, and you've got to get that momentum going. So with the momentum, a lot of energy is required to get it off the ground. So it's not the time to take your foot off the accelerator. Imagine an airplane that starts moving and then they hit the brake and back off, and then they start moving and hit the brake and back off. What would happen is they would run out of runway. So the plane would have to turn around and start all over again, because there's not enough runway to get off the ground. Okay. Now in Herbalife, you don't run out of, runway, but there's nothing worse than stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. It's the most frustrating thing that'll ever happen to you in this business. And I've experienced both. I've experienced the stop, start business, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. But I've also experienced momentum. And when momentum kicks into your business, it is singly the most exciting business in the entire world, because you can see it growing right before your very, very eyes. So when it comes to establishing your momentum, it's very important to pick your DMOs, your daily method of operations, what it is that you're going to do each day to get your business. You need to commit to a 90-day plan. And all a 90-day plan is 90 days worth of effort. Now, every day could be different. If you're working a full-time job and you've got kids, it might be, 2 hours on a Monday, 1 hour on a Tuesday, 3 hours on a Tuesday, nothing on a Thursday, and 1 hour on a Friday. I don't know. Whatever your situation is your situation. But you've got to commit to some type of plan of action for at least 90 days so that you can start to get that momentum established. Okay. So time, your show up schedule. Now, what do we mean by that? Over that 90-day period, what meetings are you going to get to? What webinars are you going to jump on? What Zoom meetings are you going to jump on? You know, what training calls are you going to listen to? All that sort of stuff. So when you put down a 90-day plan, it's not just about, you know, going out and talking to people. That's got to be number one on your list. But there's the other things that you need to lock into that schedule as well. And, you know, here at home with us, you know, everything is really mapped around the Herbalife schedule with the kickoffs and the STSs. You know, the kids know that, you know, every second Saturday, that's where Dad is. He knows that he goes to Fit Club on a Wednesday night. So they know what my show up, you know, schedule is. Now, every now and then that gets changed, but they know that I'm out here on a Tuesday night doing my calls. They understand that that's part of the schedule that we've got, okay? You want to keep some gauges. Really, really important to keep some form of gauges, guys, because you need to track what you're doing so that you can look back on it, see what worked, see what didn't work, see what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. If you're not keeping some gauges, the biggest problem with that, it would be like driving a car with no petrol gauge, no oil gauge, and no water gauge. At some point, something's going to give. And, you know, you might get away with it for a while, but eventually some problems will start to show up because you haven't got any gauges, okay? Get to the monthly meetings, the STSs, the kickoffs, and now the hails. You want to make sure that your show-up schedule includes one or two of those events. That's very, very important, okay? And you should be speaking with your coach and your mentor, you know, a minimum once a week, but quite honestly, it probably should be 2 or 3 times a week. If you're in building mode, you should be on the phone to your mentor or a coach, you know, 2 or 3 times a week because you've got activity, you've got things happening, and you're talking to people. And if you're not, then, you know, maybe that's, you know, maybe some time spent with your coach is a good thing. So that's what you've got to do to establish it, and use the daily checklist. You know, I put that up on the coaches group. I don't know how many of you guys are using it, but the daily checklist is a fantastic way of each day just checking it to see if you're on track or off track. And that's a really important thing to know. You've got your menu here, and I'm not going to go through all of these because they're exactly the same, but, you know, whatever your DMO is, you know, family and friends, shake parties, trial packs, social media, referrals, all of that stuff, it all works, okay? There's nothing that doesn't work in Herbalife if you do enough of it. So the key is just to, you know, pick a few that fit your personality, your availability, and your goals. So there's no use saying that you're going to do 1,000 flyers a week, which would take roughly, let's say, 4 hours. Okay, on average, it would take about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, okay, to do 1,000 flyers a week. There's no use saying you're going to do 1,000 flyers a week and then only invest 30 minutes doing flyers, because you're going to get out what, 70, 80, maybe 100. Well, that's no good. You know, if your goal is 100 a week, then make that your goal. Don't put 1,000 and set yourself up to fail. Make sure it's stuff that is, you know, stuff that you can do to your availability and your goals, and also your personality. The other thing about keeping gauges is exactly that. If you're only doing 100 flyers a week, don't expect to get 4 or 5 clients a month. It's not going to happen. You know, out of every 1,000 flyers, you may get 2 or 3 phone calls. That's about the odds that anybody in Australia is going to get. So if flyers are going to be one of your means of generating business and you're only going to be doing 150 a week, then, you know, don't expect too many calls every month. Expect your phone to ring maybe once or twice if you're lucky, okay? So you need to make sure that you're keeping a track on your gauges and you know what's working. The next bit is about sustaining and maintaining. And the great thing about a plane, that once it's up, it still uses energy, but it doesn't use as much, okay? It's only using enough money to keep going. It still requires power. It still requires effort. They don't just turn the engine off and glide like a glider does. Now, the biggest problem when you have got a bit of momentum is if you treat your business like a glider, what happens to a glider eventually? It comes down, okay? Eventually, it starts slowly coming down. It can stay up there with the wind thermals and all that for about an hour or two, but eventually, it's going to start getting lower and lower and lower. Now, an airplane can fly around the entire world and not stop. Why? because it keeps the momentum going. It keeps the power on. It doesn't say, oh my gosh, I've got 5 or 6 clients. I can now sit back. My business is built. No, maintaining your momentum is going and getting another 5 and 6 clients and another 5 and 6 clients. But because you've now got momentum, you've now got, your flyers are going out regularly. Maybe you're now regularly talking to people. You're regularly getting referrals because now you're getting a bit of confidence after that 90 days. Now you've got momentum on your side. You don't need to do as much effort to get the same results, but you want to make sure that you maintain those results. So for example, when you're getting, establishing your momentum, you may need to talk to 10 or 15 people to get 1 or 2. But once you've got your confidence up and your skill levels up and you're talking to a few more people, you may find that you only have to talk to 5 or 6 to get 1 or 2. So while you don't need to spend as much energy, you still want to make sure you're getting the same results and getting your 5 to 7 clients a month. That's going to build you a rock solid business in Herbalife, okay? So really important. So what do you do to maintain your stuff? Well, it's pretty well the same stuff that you were doing to get your momentum. Stay committed to your plan. Keep doing what you were doing, when you were establishing your momentum. Work with those that have joined. The important thing is now you've got to learn to rub your stomach and pat your head, because in the beginning, when you're just trying to get things established, you haven't got a lot of other people to have to worry about. But as you start getting some clients and as you start getting some members and as your members start getting clients, now that new stage 2 of your business kicks in, which is working with those that have joined you and helping them establishing their momentum. So you now may be the coach that they're calling, for the tips or the ideas. Now, if you're not maintaining your momentum and you're not active, then you're going to really struggle talking to your coaches, because they're going to ask you some questions and you're going to go, well, I'm not really doing anything at the moment. So, it's not really a positive thing that you're teaching your organization there, okay? You want to do back-to-back 90-day plans. You want to make sure that you're being really, really consistent, with your action plans, your daily method of operations, whatever it happens to be. Make sure you are staying really, really consistent with that. It's so, so important, okay? So you've now established your momentum and everything's going good. You've now got the third stage, which is called the advance the momentum. What I love about the advancing of your momentum is you're no longer flying solo. There's now a whole bunch of you. And this is when your business can move to a whole new level very, very quickly, okay? Because now not only is it you that's doing some stuff, you've now got a whole bunch of people that are working with you and a whole bunch of people that are doing, some activity as well. But this is where the real fun starts to kick in, because once you've got your team with you, all heading in the same direction, you now have major momentum. And the key now is to keep that momentum going no matter what. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, and build on that momentum. So a couple of things you want to do. Number 1, stay committed to your plan of action, whatever it is. Whatever your plan was, you should be advancing that. So you've started off doing 500 flyers a week. You now might want to advance that to 550. And a great way to just add a little bit of more momentum is by doing that. If you're getting out, 100 flyers every day or 200 flyers every day, up it to 210 every day, up it to 220 every day. So it's a little bit like when you are at the gym. You can't keep doing the same exercise and expect to advance, okay? You've got to increase in the weight. If you're doing bicep curls and the maximum you can lift is 20 kilos, then you keep lifting that 20 kilos. And eventually, guess what happens? 20 kilos becomes quite easy. And so all of a sudden now you go to 25 kilos and it's back to feeling hard again. But you got bigger muscles and you're feeling good. So you push through it. And then all of a sudden, 25 kilos is really easy. And you go to 30 kilos because 25 was really easy. And then you go to 30, you think, oh my God, 30 is so hard. But you're excited and you're pumped and your body's looking good. So you pick it up and you go. And all of a sudden you're pumping out 30 kilos. Where 10 weeks ago, you were struggling to do 20. That's what advancing your momentum is, okay? Keep doing what you're doing that you were while you were establishing and maintaining your momentum. Again, work with those that have joined, But at this point, you want to start identifying your 3 to 5 leaders that you can really lock with. 3 to 5 people that have the same, direction of you. They know where they want to be in Herbalife. You're working closely with them. And with those type of people, you probably are talking 3 or 4 times a day, maybe not always on a phone call, but text messaging and stuff. But quite honestly, I love it when I'm talking to someone 3 or 4 times a week, because I know they've got momentum. Because if they haven't got momentum, they're not ringing me. If they've got momentum, they're ringing me. What do I do about this? What about that? And I've got this person here, and how do I do this? They've got momentum. It's all happening. And a few of you are getting to that point now where you've got that type of momentum. Now is the time to keep moving it. Identify those 3 to 5 leaders and lock arms with them, and then help them identify their 3 to 5 leaders over the next several months. And all of a sudden, you've got your whole thing up and running. And that's the 3 stages of momentum that pretty well we all go through. Establish, sustain, really important to do that, right? Make sure you keep that momentum going so you keep it all moving. And then the advancement, when you've got a group of you and you start to advance, that's when your business really starts to go in leaps and bounds. Now, I love this little quote. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Because here's what happens to a lot of people. Okay, they start their 90-day plans, or they get all excited. They do it for a week. They do it for 10 days. They do it for 15 days. They do it for 20. They do it for 30. And at the end of 30 days, not much has happened. They might have got 1 client. They go, really? Did all this work and all I've got is 1 client? And they stop because they don't understand what momentum is. Okay, it's like that aeroplane. Imagine the aeroplane going for 200 meters and going, you know what? This plane's just not getting off the ground. I'm gonna put the brakes on. And then you turn around and you do it again. And you get to 200 meters and you go, oh man, still nothing, and you stop. But what if that plane didn't stop, turn around? What if that plane just kept its foot to the pedal and kept going? Eventually, what do you think is going to happen to that plane? The nose is going to lift up and it's going to lift off the ground. That's what's going to happen. So it's real simple. If you're tired of starting over all the time, stop giving up. Just keep going, and push through those times and learn how to discipline your disappointments. And I want to cover a little bit on this because this is a hard thing to do, but you got to figure it out, because if you don't, it'll get to you, okay? This here is what I call a distributor psyche, okay? You've got this one here, up and down, up. They get started, they get really up, they get a client, bang, they get a refund. They're way back down here. It's up and down like a yo-yo. Now, this is what I call a new distributor, a new member. They're a little bit low in belief because they're just getting started. So their belief system in Herbalife and in themselves and maybe in the whole thing is a little bit, low, because they're just not sure yet. They haven't had enough results to get that personal belief. They let things affect them. Okay, their best friend says no, and you get on the phone and you're talking to them and you say, how's it going? And you go, nobody wants Herbalife. I'm spoken to everybody and nobody wants Herbalife. Okay, well, let's talk about everybody. Who's everybody? My brother. Okay, who else? No one else, just my brother-in-law. He doesn't want the stuff. Okay, so that's one person. But to them, it's the entire world. They're like a little kid, A mayor, makes a mistake in the kitchen. I can't cook. I can't do anything. Honey, you dropped 1 egg. It's okay. Go grab another one. I can't do it. Okay. But you know what? As she gets older, she starts to realize, okay, I messed up with that recipe. I need to add a bit of this next time or a bit of that next time. And all of a sudden they start to get a little bit more belief. It's no different in Herbalife, but they let things, affect them. The spiral starts to go down. They start getting self-doubt. That starts to set in. They start doubting themselves. They start doubting Herbalife. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe I should just go back to being a housewife. Maybe I should just be a bartender. It's just not me. I can't do it. Yada, 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 yada. Okay? They don't do a lot of PD in the beginning because they've never done personal development before. I had never, ever in my entire life, I didn't even know what personal development was. Okay? When I first got started, that was just making sure my hair looked good when I went out, okay? I never read a book. I never read a tape. I never went to an audio. I never did anything because I didn't know what PD was. But when I started learning that personal development is learning to get over your hurdles, whatever those hurdles are. Now, whether that's in your business, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's with your kids, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your gym, whether it's with your weight loss, personal development is learning how to get over the next obstacle that's put in front of you. Okay, so that's a new distributor psyche when they first get started. And most of your organization will go through this, and most of you have probably been through this. And little activity. Why? Because they think that 50 flyers is a lot of work. Okay, or they made 2 phone calls last week and they rang it feels like they rang 1,000 people. So they've got to learn through this, and they've got to grow into that. Now, the more experienced distributors, their psyche is a little bit like the second picture. It goes up, and they have little dips every now and then, but it goes up, and you'll notice that every little dip isn't lower than the last peak. Okay, their dips very rarely go below their lowest peak of before. Why? Because they're constantly working on themselves. They've got more belief. They've got clients that have had great results. So they know the product works. They've got distributors that have made some sales. So they know they can earn an income. They've just got to keep going. That belief system is there. They get over things quicker. Do I get upset by things that happen in my business? Yes. Does it get me? Yes. But it gets me for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I get over it and I keep moving forward. Why? Because I know this business and I know it's bigger than just one of my problems. Okay? If one of my clients drops out, I've still got responsibility to my other clients. If one of my members drop out, I've still got responsibilities to my other members. I'm not just going to walk away from them because one other person decides it's not for them. So you tend to get over things a little bit quicker. We're doing a lot more PD. You know, I get up every morning and read. Okay, I make sure I try and get my 30 minutes in every single morning of doing some form of PD because it gets my head right for the day. I don't want to walk into my office and pick up my phone and start talking to clients and be in a bit of a shitty mood. Or, you know, I've watched the news and heard about 3 bombings, 2 rapes and 4 murders. You know, I've kicked the dog as I've walked out the door, and then I'm going into my office. Hey, Mary, how you doing today? You know what I mean? You're not going to have a real good day. So make sure you're doing that PD, okay? And here's what most of us do that have got a mature distributor attitude. You replace with worry with positive action. If something goes wrong, then go and do something right. Get some more activity. Go and do something that sets you up and gets you going. You know, here's what I do know, and you want to write this one down in big, big black texter across your forehead if you have to. It's one of the best phrases I ever learned. The heavy chains of burden are forged in idle hours. The heavy chains of burden are forged in idle hours. When you're not doing anything, that's when your mind starts thinking about all the things that aren't happening. But I could show you a photo of my diary today, and in fact, I'll put it up on the page tonight, and you will see that today I didn't have time to scratch myself today. Like if a bomb could have gone off next door, and there would be bodies everywhere, and I would have just gone, sorry, can't deal with that. I'm too busy today. Okay? So you replace worry with positive action. But when you're sitting around and you're not doing anything and the phone's not ringing and you're not talking to clients and you're not being proactive in your business, that's when the burden starts to overtake you. That's when you start worrying about your problems. That's when you start attracting more problems, and that's when things slow down. So, you know, make sure you move from that distributor psyche up here to the second one as fast as you possibly can. And the best way I know how to do that is make sure you're being active every day, do your PD, and just get out and be active every single day. Okay? It's a roller coaster ride, guys, and you've got to expect the ups and downs, but don't beat yourself up over them. They're going to happen. Doesn't matter what business that you're in. Herbalife is not immune to it. Okay? It's a business. So you're going to have business issues that pop up every now and then. But you don't see, you know, a shop, you know, that sells coffee and all of a sudden they go to, you know, sell some coffee and 4 people go, nah, you know, that was the worst coffee I ever had. They don't shut down the shop just because 4 people didn't like their coffee or didn't come back for more coffee, okay? They just keep going and they just keep going. So our business is no different. You're going to have those ups and downs, and your distributor psyche is what will get you through it eventually. Okay, so stay strong with that. You guys know that once you get clients, there's 3 groups that they fit into, customers and VIPs. Get them on the Facebook groups. Make sure you're doing rock star follow-up. Keep asking for referrals and keep exposing them to what's going on in Herbalife. Your active members, should be on the client page. They should be on the coach's page. They should be doing a checklist every single day, that daily checklist. They should be learning the basics by getting onto these webinars, or at least watching the replays of the webinars. So make sure they are, and follow up on that. If you send this clip to somebody over the next couple of days, say, listen, I'll give you 2 days to watch it, and then I'll call you back and let's talk about what you got out of it and see if they watched it or not. Invite into the support system. So get them helping out at your fit clubs, at the STSs. Hey, Mary, on Saturday, can you help us do a setup? We'd love you to maybe come and share your story, or, could you help us with ushering, or could you help serve out the shakes? Whatever. Get them to be a part of the community. And that's also on the groups as well. People may not feel that they're a part of the community if they're not getting on the groups and leaving comments. But if you start getting on there and leaving more comments, and then people start saying, oh my God, that Belinda's always leaving great stuff and she's fantastic. And then they finally meet you. It's like, oh my God, Belinda, yeah, I see you on Facebook all the time. It's like your long lost friend. Okay. It's the first time you've ever met them. Why? Because they've seen you on Facebook. They watch you on Facebook. They're seeing you being proactive in everything that you're doing. So make sure that. And business builders, obviously are doing all of the above. They are absolutely involved in the support system. They go to the STSs, they go to the extravaganzas, and they're completing, weekly gauges. Okay. If you're in business building mode and you're not filling out gauges, you're not in business building mode. Okay, only those that are filling out gauges are really in business building mode. Now, whatever your gauge sheet is, it doesn't matter. It can be a scrappy piece of paper. I'm sure if I showed some of the gauge sheets that get sent into me by certain people, a lot of you guys would go, what? But it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's written on the back of a beer coaster. Okay, Monday I did this, Tuesday I did this, Wednesday I did this, Thursday I did this, and it's scribbled on the back of a beer coaster. That's all I need to be able to help you build your business. I don't need to know all the stuff that goes with it. In fact, Jim Rohn used to say, just write a little box and put a number in the box. That's all I need to know. Because whatever the number is in the box, I can tell you what's happening with your Herbalife business. And all it would be is on how many people did you talk to today? And if in that little box you've got a 0, I know exactly where your business went today. And if you talk to 1 or 2 or 3 people, I know where your business would be going. And if you're talking to 5 or 10, I know exactly where your business is going. So I don't need all the other stuff, okay? The other stuff is good because we can talk about it and we know where we're at. But at the end of the day, if you just had a little box with what you were doing, I'd be happy just receiving that, as a text message. No problems whatsoever. So just make sure that you're using those 3 groups and you know who you're talking to. If you've got a customer up here, there's no use talking this stuff down here like a business builder because you're going to blow them out of the water. Okay, just talk about where they're at and help them with where they're at, and people can move from group to group. And I don't physically tell somebody, hey, okay, Mary, you've gone from business builder back to active member. They will pretty well know that because our contact won't be as much. The calls that we have won't be so intense or talking about structure or gauges because there won't be any gauges to talk about. Okay, and they may not come to every STS, so they already know that they've sort of moved back into active member mode, and that's completely fine, absolutely 100%. I love everybody in every group. I've got clients up here that have been clients for 20 or 25 years. They order their 110 volume points every month. I love those guys as much as I love my business builders that are doing 5,000 or 6,000 volume. Absolutely, no difference. Do I spend more time with my business builders? Of course I do. That's obvious, okay? But I don't love them any different, okay? I just spend different time with them because of what their goals are and what they want. And if you can keep everybody around in your business long term, then you're going to build a very, very, strong business. Last but not least, I'm just going to finish off with this. I think it's the last slide. We all know what our job is as a coach, guys. And at the end of the day, your momentum should revolve around this, okay? This is what, our job is. If you're doing Herbalife, it's like if you're a secretary, you walk in, you've got a certain amount of jobs that you've got to do each day. If you're a motor mechanic, if you're, a plumber, whatever it is, you know what your job is every single day. Well, our job in Herbalife is simple: to use all the products and get the best result that you possibly can. And what's really important, guys, is to enroll people into their results while you're getting your results. You don't have to wait until you're a level 10 to help someone get to level 2. Okay? You might only be at level 2 right now, but that means you can help someone else get to level 1. And if you're at level 3 or 4, then you can help get someone to level 2. And if you're at level 4 or 5, then you can help somebody get to level 4 or 5. Okay? You don't have to be at level 10 before you help somebody get to level 1. So make sure you're enrolling them in their own journey. The goal is to get those 5 to 7 clients. Why? Because that's going to give you great momentum. It's going to give you great retail business. It's going to keep you in the mode. It's going to keep you building your Herbalife house. And from those 5 or 7, you're probably going to find those 1 or 2 people that want to get a bigger discount and start helping other people. Keep exposing people to all the, all the events that we've got, the STSs, the kickoffs. I did say HAL, there's an E missing off the end of that. Our Healthy Active Lifestyle Expos. Make sure you're doing that. Make sure that you're attending the events. Keep around the campfire, because the minute you start drifting away from the campfire, you'll get cold. And then all of a sudden you don't realize how warm it was at the campfire, because you started just sort of keeping to yourself over here. And before you know it, you're not even near the campfire anymore and you've dropped away. So make sure you keep yourself around the campfire. STSs, these type of calls, the Zoom calls. And obviously maintain and retain. It's no use having 10 customers come in the front door and 10 customers go out the back door. Learn how to look after those clients so they hang around, okay? And just keep promoting everything that's coming up. So it's a pretty simple process there. All right, guys, so that pretty well wraps up the call tonight. I hope you got something from that. Momentum is a really, really important part of your business. And just remember the 3 stages that we all go through. We all go through it. The most important one, obviously, for a brand new people is establishing it. But every level of your momentum is important, because it creates the next level in your momentum, but also helps the momentum of the people that are following you, because they get caught up in your momentum and, they're just a part of it. And at the moment, we've got great momentum around Australia that we're all a part of. Fantastic momentum happening in Adelaide that we're all a part of. So if you use the momentum that's happening at the bigger events, like at the STSs and the kickoffs, that momentum is naturally going to pull you along and help you build your momentum. So have a great rest of week, guys. Keep on keeping on, and we'll see you on the next call. Bye for now.